Yello, and welcome to episode 32 of my Endwalker playthrough. We are still in Elpis, over in 12 Wonders. I get the feeling we're about to head over to this area here, since they are level 25 mobs over here, or 87 mobs. Where did 25 come from? Level 87 mobs, and the next quest is level 87. So let's just talk to Emet-Selch. I didn't know, I don't know what answer he's searching for, or if it's within our power to give it, but I believe he would make a fine Fandaniel, and that's if he rejects us out of hand, we'll all be the lesser for it. Heliodius wishes to discuss plans for the remainder of your visit. Where to now? If there's anywhere you would like to visit before we leave, I should be glad to show you the way. Hermes has not yet outright refused his position with the convocation, merely postponed the decision. As such, I may as well resume my assessment. If we cannot accompany him, then I would content myself to question his colleagues. Ever the pragmatist. Then allow me to remain your humble guide. And what of you, Nathan? Will you continue along with us? Wonderful. Our fellowship travels on unbroken. And I say we explore another part of Elpis, and see what new encounters there are to be had. If you would follow me, we first make back towards Agonosis. Agonosis. I just see a jumble of letters. I should probably note, I've never been tested for dyslexia, but I've always had issues with spelling and handwriting and the like. So it is quite possible I have some form of dyslexia. But it's never been severe enough that it's caused me any significant issue other than poor English grades. But I was always a maths person anyway, so being bad at English was kind of to be expected, as far as I'm concerned. I was good at science as well. Go figure. Someone into computers was good at science. Physics and chemistry specifically. Although I wasn't bad at biology. Oh, and in case it wasn't apparent there, I have got mount speed boost now. Didn't we part ways with Hermes not far from here? Given the size of the Eptis, why is that word just gone from my mind? I expected our paths to cross it before long. From here we follow the path northwards to Notonius. There's no R, Notonius. There we will find one of the teleporters which facilitates travels between the islands of Elpis. First-time travellers must be accompanied by someone with the required permissions, which I have previously been granted. We only need to use the device once together, and thenceforth you will have leave to use it freely. Shall we? My chocobo needs to be set back to 3 stance and given a little bit more time. It's a B rank, isn't it? Yeah. Not what I meant to do. Well, since we dismounted. That is not the mount I meant to summon. But summoned it we have. Never mind. Unless the need is pressing, I won't be tracking Hermes with my ethereal sight. 'Tis poor manners to spy on someone comings and goings in such a fashion, so don't ask. Social conventions notwithstanding, perceiving ether requires deliberate and intense concentration, and we otherwise keep our eyes on the corporeal world. So basically, these two can see in the same way that your Stola can, or at least in a similar sort of fashion. I think she's never mentioned the fact that she can see the colour of our sword, but she can certainly see its density. Here we are, Notonus. This teleporter will take us up to Kilmillion Zephyrus, the western island. It is right there, looming large over us. Step this way, and we can soon admire the view from above.
I present to you Calamelios Zephyros.
Close. I got the last word way closer. Calamelios Zephyros.
Here you will find a number of testing facilities, as well as the observation hub of Poiton Oikos.
I am never going to remember that one. Poiton Oikos.
Right then. Let's begin by...
It's us begin!
Well, well. An Arraius. How delightful.
It has stolen someone's crystal.
And what, pray tell, is that?
I recognise that thing.
Ah, that's a new species of shark. We approved the concept but a few days ago.
It's a land shark.
Sharks are among the most popular sea creatures. Rare is the day when someone does not submit a new concept. At first, they were largely orthodox, consideration given to such things as size and environmental impact. And then a whimsical someone thought to bestow it with flight, another superior intelligence. And then the floodgates burst. Concepts with multiple heads, or arms and legs, and so on and so forth. It was getting absurd. A part of me wanted to tell them to go away and find something else to create, but in the end I couldn't deny their passion. And here we are.
Who or what was that? It's Vanats.
That was too close. Are you unharmed? Well now, if it isn't a pair of familiar faces.
Banar!
Banar.
We should meet you here.
He immediately turns away. Come on, we know that she became the heart of Hydaelyn.
As I mentioned earlier, the better part of the convocation holds that when we retire is when we return to the star.
She did not.
Well, she is not among said majority. Even after stepping down, she carries on with her work.
Who did she used to be then? Do we know this? Have I forgotten?
Vanar is her name, and she is the previous Azem.
That explains a lot.
It has been a while, Hythlodaeus. You look well.
Hythlodaeus. I keep getting close, but I keep drifting away because I keep wanting to say how I've been pronouncing it from the start. I'm bad with names. Go figure.
Less so, Emet-Selch. I dare say the lines upon your brow have both deepened and doubled in number. A shame for one so young. You must make an effort to frown less often.
Easier said than done, thanks to your unruly successor.
How is he, if I may ask?
Incorrigible as ever. Rushed headlong into a volcano on the brink of eruption just the other day. I should be glad to share the tale in its entirety later, if you're so inclined.
So that is a direct reference to the Tales from the Shadowbringers. Although the Tales from the Shadowbringers was told from the point of view of Elidibus talking to Emet-Selch. In the event that he doesn't mention it, the reason he was rushing to the volcano on the brink of eruption was because the grapes make particularly good wine on that island. And he borrowed the concept of Ifrit from the archive, a concept that La Habrea created.
Oh, you know I am. Now then, you are? I say, have you perchance come from the future?
How the hell do you know that?
I do not believe we have ever met, yet I sense my magic upon you. Therefore, if I wove the enchantment, I could only have done so at a later point in time.
What manner of magic is this, if I may ask?
A traveler's ward, of course. It prevents the corruption of one's ether.
So that's what the echo is. Sounds rather like the Blessing of Light. Does it protect you from enthrallment by primals? They don't know what primals are. And we know they don't, because they haven't summoned Zodiac yet. I'm gonna say it anyway, because the top one is just, this is what we call it. I want to see what their reaction is to that. What's a primal?
Primals, you say? I'm not familiar with such beings. But if they enthrall by warping the balance of ether, then yes, the magic would afford you a measure of protection. I gather from your question that you are not ignorant to its presence.
Hold on. From the future? That's absurd.
Look away, we can't talk about it.
What is it? Are you unable to speak of the matter?
The reality to which you must return exists as a result of the final days. You cannot reshape the past to undo the tragedies of the present.
So, your actions here will not change your history, but they may yet affect the course of ours. How very exciting! I'm quite fond of delving into the unknown, and there's naught more unknown than the future.
So the fact she used to be a Zeme kind of explains why our soul's predecessor, or she went to our soul's predecessor to ask us to join her cause. Although I imagine we refused because we were more intrinsically tied to the people and the natural flow of the land itself and everything. So we didn't want to get involved because we wanted to see... I'm project. Actually, I shouldn't use the term we, because it's technically not us.
Until a moment finally arrives, we cannot know for certain what will come to pass, regardless of our supposed foreknowledge. So you needn't worry for us. More importantly, that you should go to such great lengths as to travel unto the past bespeaks the gravity of your quest. Will you not reveal it to us? Mayhap we can be of aid to your cause.
If this is true, then you've been keeping quite the secret to yourself. As a representative of the Convocation, I will hear it all. Your identity, purpose, everything.
Why don't we move to a place more conducive to calm conversation? I've been working here for some days now at an old friend's behest. If it is agreeable, we may make use of my accommodation at Poiton Oikos. We were meant to meet. I am certain of it. Else I wouldn't have marked you so clearly, and sent you unto myself in the past.
You didn't send me.
It's precisely the sort of mischief I would get up to. And quite inspired, if I do say so myself.
And there I thought you were a harmless stray familiar. As far as I'm concerned, this nebulous talk of future, this, and change in history, that can wait. First, I mean to find out exactly who you are and what you hope to achieve here. The future. Our future. I'm deathly curious to hear more. My apologies, but before we move along, a colleague has tasked me with a matter which I'd rather not leave unresolved. It involves finding a certain concept-engraved crystal and a quick-fingered aureus that made off with it. An aureus, you say? I think we might have seen the culprit before being distracted by the business with the shark. Would you allow us to follow... would you like us to follow its etheric trail? That would, of course, lead us to the aureus. There's no guarantee that it hasn't dropped and stashed away the crystal you seek. Please, even that much would be enormously helpful. While you are hunting down the thief, I can follow behind and scour the forest floor just in case. Could I ask you to join the search? I'd appreciate another pair of eyes to cover the land to the west of here. Many thanks. There's a small bridge leading to Portus Orcus. There's no... The I is silent, it's Okos. Let's meet there once we've exhausted our efforts. And we know for a fact that somewhere in the very near vicinity, northeast, over there-ish. I imagine on the other side. If one had to guess. I am entirely wrong. I would have run right past this if I hadn't heard it. Whoops. Note to self. If you remember. Chat window needs blurring for the first part of this. Northwest. How many more do we have? 4 more and 2 more quests. I love how some of the boss fate creatures are just like common as grass around here. This thing is extraordinarily rare. It spawns randomly in the Dravanian forelands as part of a weather fate, and it spawns 3 times. Oh, there we go. The Azims, both mentor and student, are a force to be reckoned with. I find them a delight, personally, but they have a habit of making Emet-Selch look as if he's a bit down on sour grapes. The problem you present is vexing enough without adding old Azim into the equation. And she wonders why these lines upon my brow grow deeper when she herself wields the hammer and chisel. Our last searcher returns. I'm afraid the Oris no longer had the crystal, nor was I able to find it as I followed in its wake. I don't suppose you fared any better? A scintillating crystal upon which is stored some manner of esoteric concept. The crystal, well done. Wonderful, now I can focus on your tale without that missing concept nagging my mind. Have you always had a knack for finding things? I have often been asked to do so. Travelling and searching go hand in hand. We'll go for the first one. I have often been asked to do so. Oh, you too! Seems some of us seem destined to always be searching, for ourselves and for others. Long ago, when I held the seat of Azim, I was forever trekking back and forth across the star in search of answers to people's problems. Naturally, the need for such journeys has lessened considerably since I entrusted the position to my whimsical successor. Yet I'm still eager to come running should an old acquaintance or new interest require my personal attention. That is what brings me to Elpis. In fact, many times has my presence been requested, my opinions sought concerning the habitat of this or that creation. Agreeing to help locate the missing crystal was a minor distraction, which now promises to become a major revelation. How strange and wonderful it is, the way one thing leads to another. Wouldn't you agree? Vanat, or Vanat, the T is silent apparently, Vanat is in a cheerful mood. Thank you again for your timely help. Now then, 'tis time I returned this stolen property. If you would go on ahead to my accommodation, I will join you as soon as I have attended to that task. Follow the path straight ahead to the building at the top of the slope. I have the place entirely to myself, so we can speak without fear of being disturbed or overheard. Hippolodeus? You needn't be nervous around Vanna. Those white robes mark her as one of the fair and you needn't be nervous around Vanat. Those white robes mark her as one of fair and impartial reasoning. Aside from the emissary, Elidibus, such garbs is worn only by those who have stepped down from public office to serve as advisors. Whatever you have to say, she will listen without judgment. Yes, this will be far more comfortable than interrogating you on the side of the road. These two want to have a nice, calm chat. He wants to interrogate us. Welcome to my temporary abode. Please make yourself at home while I put on some tea.
A wonderful aroma. I feel more relaxed already.
Interesting. Why is Answers playing?
Would that I had sweetmeats to offer, but I travel light out of habit. There's plenty of hot water though, so please have as much tea as you like. Now then, will you tell us your tale?
How much can I tell? A calamity called the final days has befallen the world. The world has been sundered, broken into shards. Mankind is being forced to flee the star. Let's go with the top one because that is why we're here, and the final days hasn't started here yet.
Why don't you start from the beginning?
The beginning of what? Their time or my time? So that tells us we've mentioned Heidelin. We're mentioning the Asians, which means we've also mentioned Zodiac and the Convocations Weapon. Emet-Selch and Fake Amarot. The death of Zodiac, the beginning of the final days. Now all of them wish they hadn't asked.
Preposterous. Utterly preposterous.
While not the words I would have chosen, I too have my doubts. Much of it borders on the incredulous. What of you, Vanar?
Not knowing the precise details of the first final days, it is difficult to determine the veracity of the tale. Supposing it is all true, I must ask myself why I would do what I did.
Because we told you?
Why would I feel I had no recourse but to oppose the 14 and create this Heidelin? Circumstances change, of course, but it would not have been an easy decision regardless.
What we know the reason why she did it was because the Convocation of 14 wanted to sacrifice the life that had been created. in order to bring life back to the world. They wanted to nurture that, to then sacrifice it, to bring back the people they had lost. And that's the thing that sat ill with you.
No. There must have been a reason. One compelling enough to force me to take such drastic measures.
We know the answer to this.
Then there is the Elpis flower, which I said would serve as a guide. That it's of import to your mission is plain, but your presence here leads me to believe that this place also holds significance.
I wonder if we was explicitly... Did I say this earlier? No, I think I had the thought on the top of my mind, but I wonder if Hydaelyn specifically set this in motion because the events at this table had to happen for everything to end up back at the, or back to where we are in the future.
But what could it be? What are we meant to accomplish?
Might it not be simply thus? In the future whence he came, the final days could not be averted. Mankind has no choice but to flee the star. By alerting us to that eventuality, perhaps you wish to pave the way for other futures.
Theoretically speaking, it is a possibility. Yet if that were my primary objective, I see no reason to guide our friend to Elpis specifically. The capital and Amarot, or even my own home would be more logical destinations.
True, true. I note also that Hydaelyn did not specify a point in time to which he must return.
She didn't do it at all. But it was someone else who remembered that we were here that sent us.
By this, it may be inferred that it was not critical that we should meet.
Alternately, she had reason to believe that our paths would converge, coincidental though it may seem.
She has you as her heart. So it stands to reason she has your memories as well. If she remembers this, she could orchestrate things in such a way that I've already told things that I've told you how they've happened, so she can make the things that have actually already happened come to pass. A self-fulfilling prophecy.
This is quite a puzzle, and we do not have all the pieces.
Hardly any. But we do have one immutable fact. If the final days are indeed as described, they will bring death to all that I hold dear. Yet despite being afforded long years of preparation, the only provisions I could make were for flight. Nay, my first and foremost endeavor would be to find a way to forestall the coming doom.
Given that even the 14 failed, mayhap you deemed it impossible.
Nothing is impossible. This I have always believed. And if Hydaelyn is indeed me, she would believe the same.
Listen to yourself. Are you seriously entertaining the notion that you are a messianic figure in some far-fetched tale? Well, I will not. I refuse to accept that our world could be undone by some unforeseen calamity. I also take offense to my portrayal as a megalomaniacal madman. To sacrifice oneself for the star is a noble act, and I would hold those who gave themselves to this zodiac in the highest esteem. Yet, you claim I recreated Amarot and populated it with phantoms of our people? A bizarre indulgence that would be insulting to their memory. Worse still, I even invited you there. Literally invited my own downfall. Why would I do something so idiotic and inexplicable?
We have the stone for the seat of Azim. If we just show him that...
Now, I will allow that the hypothetical task of restoring our world would be daunting in the extreme. The thought of having to bear such a burden for 1,000 lives horrifies me. But I would never forsake my duty. I would never forsake my brethren.
You never did.
You do not know me. I've had my fill of your fiction. I will return to my duty, and you will not bother me again.
Emet-Selch! Wait!
You've seen much of Elpis already. If you have any observations to share, I should like to hear them.
Hermes and Meteion are somehow involved. Still trying to make sense of it all. I'm fairly sure this is true. But I reckon this is probably more apt. We were sent here specifically to find Hermes. And I think Meteion is probably the key.
Hermes and his creation Meteion, you say? If Dynamis is the self-same energy as Akasha, as it likely seems, then those two may well be at the center of the calamity to come. This warrants further investigation. With that settled, it is time for action. The missing pieces of the puzzle are here, I'm certain of it. And when you find them, the picture my future self has painted will be complete, and you will have your answer. And suffice it to say, I will aid you in your quest. Have faith. If Emet-Selch is the man Azum described to me, we've not seen the last of him.
Shall we begin our investigation, then? I'm acquainted with Hermes, of course, but only as a visitor received by the chief overseer of Elpis. Of the man himself, I know only that which is common knowledge. Thus, I suggest we fall back on tried-and-true methods of conversing with the locals. The observers who live here can surely tell us more of Hermes and Meteion, and I have a good idea where we might begin. You see the woman standing there in front of yonder building? Her name is Ismina. She is the one who made arrangements for my stay in Elpis, and from what I recall, she has held her position for quite some time. Chances are she can provide us with some insights. Go and ask your questions. I will help with drawing out answers if needs be, but I leave the choice of topic to you. Questions for me? Well, I suppose I have no other pressing duties at the moment. The following event cannot be skipped. Begin asking questions. Greetings, Ismena. My friend here is desperately curious about Chief Hermes, and I was wondering if you might indulge him. Certainly, Mistress Vinat. Anything to be of service? What do you wish to know? What kind of person is Hermes? Well, I can only answer from my own experience, but I would describe him as a quiet man, reserved, you might say, and occasionally somewhat poor with his choice of words. He recites... No, that's not right. That word is not coming to mind. Nature, however, and does not prevent... His something nature, however, does not prevent him from carrying out his duties as Chief Overseer. The man is a walking archive when it comes to life forms. He can discuss any species in incredible detail, and is the leading authority on concepts with the power of flight. I hope that answers your question. Was there anything else? Do you know of her? Let's find out how long she's been here specifically, because we know they've already sent others out. I cannot rightly say. As the Chief's personal creation, Meteion has not been subjected to observation and study like other concepts. So one day she was simply there. And what do you make of her abilities? I understand that she is highly unusual familiar, able to read emotions and communicate directly with one's mind. Exactly how she was created with that talent, however, is a mystery to me. My apologies. I wish I could explain her nature in more depth, but I've not had the occasion to discuss it with Master Hermes, or Chief Hermes. Do you wish you knew him better? Do you trust him? That would tell us how isolated he is. Whereas I imagine they're going to trust him because he's the chief regardless, so I think this gives us a more telling answer. The chief may not be the most gregarious individual, but he engages with us as is necessary for everyone to perform their duties. I wouldn't want to intrude on his privacy for the sake of curiosity. Though, if you wish to learn more about Meteion, you would try speaking with Timaeus, other experts in creation of flying concepts. He should be conducting his own observations on the bank of the stream, somewhere to the east. Oh, and unless you take particular joy in rambling discourse, I suggest you keep your questions concise. We shall keep that in mind. Thank you for your patience and your insight. Think nothing of it. If there is aught else you need during your stay, please do not hesitate to ask. Come, Nathan. I think we've taken enough of Ismina's time. Oh. Our investigation is off to a fine start, wouldn't you agree? From here I propose we split up. I shall continue making inquiries with the resident overseers. If you could track down the colleague Ismina's mentioned, While I did feel compelled to interject once or twice during that previous conversation, you seem more than capable of drawing forth the answers you seek. All I ask that is that you watch your footing around the stream. We can meet back here once you've finished speaking with Timios. I'll get it later. Yes, I'm Timius, but please keep your voice down. You'll startle the birds. Okay, keep questions concise. So, what is it you wish to speak about? Is it true that you're an expert on flying creations? No. What do you think of Chief Hermes' flies creations? Chief Hermes' work? A worthy subject indeed. Those beings which soar through the clouds, majestic and graceful, are ever a favourite of creators. Even now, with so many varieties in existence, the flood of newly imagined concept continues unabated. What sets the chiefs of creations apart, however, is how they benefit from his boundless knowledge of the celestial realm. Birds that climb so high they disappear from view, others which traverse the boundless sky in moments, and all without riding the currents. I know of none save he who can conceive of such marvels. Even we who prize elegance in form above all else are dumbfounded by his genius. I'm not mimic his poses. Meteion too is a marvel then. My opinion on that matter would be superficial at best. Despite my admiration for Meteion as a concept, I have never delved too deeply into the inner workings of her nature. I know that she has gifts for communicating via emotion, but otherwise her abilities are a mystery to me. If Chief Hermes should choose to submit Meteion's creation to the Bureau of the Architect, then will the design be registered for public scrutiny? Analysing a colleague's creation before that step is frowned upon, to say the least. Of course, if he came to me, a fellow artisan, looking for advice, that would be an entirely different story. Do you know of Dynamis and Endwalker? I could tell you more about it. No. Do you know of Dynamis and Endwalker? Dynamis and Endwalker. Those terms do sound vaguely familiar. Were it not a flower made here in Elpis, which exhibited properties of one or the other? It must have been centuries since I last heard anyone speak such things. Has there been a resurgence in interest? Then why bring up the subject? I am flattered that you sought my insight, but I cannot afford to neglect my duties for the sake of idle chatter. Now, I really must return to my observations. Surely you have your own tasks to attend to? Back already? That was quick work. You were obviously clever enough to head off any of that rambling Isman mentioned. So, have you any new findings to share? I see. Even an expert in the field has little understanding of Meteion's capabilities, let alone an awareness of Dynamis. My questions resulted in much the same answers. Hermes' colleagues view Meteion as his personal project, and could provide no details beyond those which you just told me. Which leads me to believe that the only person with any significant knowledge of Dynamis is Hermes himself. Yes, we've made some progress here, but information is needed if we are to reach a definitive conclusion. Yeah. Helps if you click the button rather than keep clicking underneath the button. Okay, we do not have time for another quest today. So, We shall call it there for now. What's the time? Okay. I will get some other things done and have my tea in the meantime, and then start recording episode. It'll be 33. This was 32, I think. Later on. So thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show, and hopefully I will see you next time. Cheerio.